Thank you. I'm delighted to be here today. I'm delighted to be on Long Island. I won't tell you, it's been a very long time since I've been on Long Island, and it's great to see so many of you. I actually know many of you because I've seen you at Nyla many times, and I appreciate the support that you've given to Nyla. I'm headed towards the end of my term as president of Nyla, and I have about a month left. It was, a good time. I've enjoyed it. Somebody said to me, what has it been like? Have you really enjoyed it a lot? And maybe you also know that I was chair of the legislative committee of Nyla for 4 years prior to Kevin being chair, and I really enjoyed that a hell of a lot more than this. It's nice being president, but there's a lot of process stuff you have to do. When you're legislative chair, and I'm sure Kevin can tell you this, you feel like you're really in the center of everything. Not that a lot is happening in New York State at the moment. Long Island people have been fabulous supporters of Nyla, of Lobby Day. When I'm up on Lobby Day, I see your bus loads coming in, and it's fabulous. I know the system's really put that together, and you're working together for that. It really makes a difference. You may sometimes wonder that, but it really does make a difference. Those numbers make a difference. Those letters that you send make a difference. Those calls, those visits. And I was speaking to somebody earlier, and I said, it's not just one thing that people do. It's a combination of all these different things that people are doing throughout the state and at Nyla. And that's really what we've been trying to push for the last few years, is that we're not just like taking one, okay, we're going to have advocacy at a certain area, we're going to be doing this statewide. Mike Borges, who's a great executive director, is going to be talking to the legislature. That's not enough, because then they're going to say, I never hear from any of my constituents. And if you do it the other way, if you don't have somebody pushing in Albany for you, when push comes to shove at the right moment, if somebody's not there making the case, it won't happen. I know a few years ago when I think when library was first cut, maybe it was 2008 might have been the year, and it was late August over the holiday weekend. I think it was just past the holiday weekend. The legislature had been called back, and there was some discussion about additional cuts that were going through. And at that time, Nyla was working with a lobby firm that we had, and I was legislative chair, I think, at that point. It was 11 o'clock at night, and the legislature was still in session, and they were voting on whether these cuts are going through. And we had heard that the cut for libraries was only going to be, I think it was 6% something, as opposed to everybody else was getting like a 10 or 13% cut. But Mike Borges heard the legislature was pushing through this 10%. We were going to be like everybody else across the board. And he said, no, we heard this. Well, where was our lobbyist at this point? So he calls our lobbyist up. I won't use his name. And he said, oh, I'm doing this from home. Well, Mike was there, and he actually got it, the legislature to agree it's only the 6% cut now. Only a cut, no cut is good. But my point is that there is somebody for you with Nyla that is actually on the ground talking your issues 24/7. Meeting somebody, getting coffee in that mall down in Albany, and he'll push the issue. And it's also the work that you do with the PAC, the support of the PAC that you're having, the work that you're doing individually when you tell your trustees, your library supporters, to push that button on the Nyla, be a library advocate. All of that stuff together has to continue, and that's the only way we're going to make any difference. Because to tell you the truth, and I'm really not telling you anything you don't know, library funding is down 2.75% this year at state level. It's going to be cut probably another 1% because they have it in something called a lockbox, not just library aid, but all aid. We may never see that. Kevin's been on top of all of that. Next year is a very bad year. We're hearing financially for the state, no surprise there. We're probably going to see, we're going to have to struggle really hard and do a lot of advocacy not to see additional cuts. And then, let's say we have a good year, finally, and things start turning around. I bet every one of you can say that there's never been an experience where all of a sudden we're going to get $20 million back in 1 year. it's probably, if we get $5 million a year back, we'll be doing really well, which means, I'm going to be retired by the time we actually get back to the $103 million that we had back in 2007. And I just want to point out here that when I was legislative chair, no offense, Kevin, but when I was legislative chair, that's when we got all the money, including the $22 million for construction. And since then, Kevin, you're a nice guy, but anyway, I don't think I have to tell you people about Nyla because you already know. You're already great supporters. So I really want to hear from you about what your issues are and what you would like Nyla to do, because if Nyla can't respond to your issues, then we don't deserve to exist as an organization. But one thing I want to do is just thank both Matt, who is going to be Nyla president, for being here. I told Matt that I was going to invite him up to my region when he's Nyla president, and he can speak there. And also Frank, who, you didn't win this time, Frank, but I hope you do next time. So anyway.
We were talking with Kevin and Peter earlier about sort of what's it like upstate, what's going on upstate. Well, I think one of the differences is that we don't have the population density, even in the Rochester area, that you guys have down here. And so we have smaller towns, smaller communities, smaller tax bases, not nearly as well supported public libraries. We do a lot more cooperation among, between the 3 Rs and the publics and the schools, just because we're desperate, I guess. No, I don't know. It just seems that we do a lot of cooperation, and people tend to be surprised at how much we do among the 3 types of systems. So that's one of the differences. One of the things I wanted to ask you people is, I think you're all Nyla members, pretty much. Yeah, that's great. We know that we can count on Long Island. Would it make a difference in getting some of your staff, getting some of your colleagues to join if Nyla could do something like a subscription? Say, here's a subscription to Nyla. This gives you the bulletin and maybe some other publications and a membership. And then that way you can pay the bill as if it's an acquisition, and it still gets a membership for somebody. So the schools thought this would be a neat idea. It was easier to pay a bill that's for a product.
Well, Nyla basically is, the membership now is just under 4,000, but it's going down a little bit. It was 4,300 a couple of years ago. So we know the times are tough economically, and many people have not renewed their subscription, their membership, and so we're looking for ways to encourage people to continue to be Nyla members. So